Good day, Sir Nasin. Our report is Last Homecoming and Trial. Rizal Homecoming in 1896. The last in his life. He was the saddest return to his beloved native land. He knew he was facing the supreme test, which might mean the sacrifice of his life. But he was unafraid. A master of fact, he was welcome it gladly. He desired to meet his enemies and to offer himself as a sacrificial victim to their sadistic lust and unholy design, for he knew that his blood would water the seeds of Filipino freedom. The trial that was held shortly after his homecoming was one of history mockeries of justice. His enemies howled like mad dogs for his blood, and they got it without benefit of genuine justice. A martyr's last homecoming day by day since leaving Barcelona on Tuesday, October 6, 1896. Rizal science consciously recorded events in history, in his diary. He was given a good cabin in the second class and although strictly guarded, he was courteously treated by the army officers. The officer on duty. He wrote in his diary, seems amiable, refined, and polite, consistent with the seriousness of his duty. On October 8, a friendly officer told Rizal that the Madrid newspaper will full of stories about the bloody revolution in the Philippines and were blaming him for it. Realizing the adverse and unjust public opinion, he thanked God for giving him the chance to return in order to confront his slanders and to indicate his name. He wrote in his diary on the same date, October 8. I believe that what God is doing to me is, is a blessing, allowing to go back to the Philippines in order to able to destroy such accusations because either they do me justice and recognize my innocence and then I will be rehabilitated or they sentence me to death and thereby. Before the eyes of society, I atone for my support crime. Society will forgive me and later. Without any doubt, justice will be done. Me and I will be one of more martyr. At any rate, instead of dying abroad or in Manigua jungle in Cuba, I'll die in my own country. I believe that what is happening is the best that can happen to me. Always let God will be done. I feel more calm with regard to my future. I feel that peace has descended upon me. Thank God, thou art my hope and my consolation. Let your will be done. I am ready to obey it. Either I will be condemned and absolved. I'm happy and ready. Confiscation of Rizal's diary. It was known to Spanish authorities on board that colon that Rizal was keeping track of the daily event in his history. They were of course curious that as to what were recorded in his diary. Not only their curiosity but also their suspicion what aroused for they feared that diaries might be writing something seditious or treasonable. On October 11, before reaching port, said Rizal diary was taken away and was critically scrutinized by the authorities. Nothing dangerous was found in his contents. The cabin was searched thoroughly but nothing incriminating was found. On November 2, diary was returned to him. Owing to the interrupt, Rizal was not able to record the events from Monday October 12 to Sunday. November 1, speaking of this incident, the wrote in his diary 3. Monday 2, November today, they returned to me this notebook, which they took away on the 11th of last month before reaching Port Said. For this reason, my diary was interrupted. They searched me on, expected thoroughly my luggage. They took away my papers, and after they put behind bars, and they did not take me until we reached the Sea. That was they did to 16 hours before our arrival. Also twice they put me on for 6 hours before they take me out when we are already in the high seas. However, that Singapore they put 16 hours before our arrival. Also twice they put handcuffs on me. Unsuccessful rescue in Singapore knows news of Rizal predicament reached his friends in Singapore. From London, Antonio Maragridor and Sixto Lopez dispatched frantic telegram to an English lawyer in Singapore, named How for to rescue Rizal from the Spanish steamer when reached Singapore by means of a writ of habeas corpus. When the colon arrived in Singapore, attorney Ford instituted proceeding at the Singapore court for the removal of Rizal, the steamer. The crux of Mr. Ford's legal contention was that Rizal was illegally detained on a Spanish steamer. Opportunity, Chief Justice Lionel Cruz denied the writ on the ground that the colon was carrying Spanish troops to the Philippines. Hence, it is a warship or foreign power, which under the international law was beyond the jurisdiction of Singapore authorities. Rizal was unaware of the attempt made by his friends to rescue him in Singapore because he was then kept behind bars in the ship. Arrivals in Manila on November 3, the colon reached Manila, where it was greeted with while rejoicing by the Spaniards and friars because it brought more reinforcement and military supplies. While the Spanish community was exulting with joy, Rizal was quietly transferred under heavy guard from the ship to Fort Santiago. Meanwhile, the Spanish authorities fished for evidence against Rizal. Many Filipinos Many Filipino priors including Diodato Arellano, Dr. Pio Valenzuela, Moises Salvador, Jose Dezon, Domingo Franco, Timoteo Pais, and Padro Serrano Lactao were brutally tortured to implicate Rizal. Rizal's own brother, Parciano, was arrested and cruelly tortured. He suffered all pains effectively by Spain's diabolical torturers, but he never signed any damaging statement incriminating his younger brother, although his body was shattered on the torture rack and his left hand crushed by the screw. His valiant Asian spirit remained unbroken. Preliminary investigation on November 20. The preliminary investigation began. Rizal, the accused, appeared before the judge's advocate, Colonel Francisco Alab. He was subjected to a grueling five-day investigation. He was informed of the charge against him. He answered the questions asked by the judge's advocate, but he was not permitted to confront those who testified against him.
When Lieutenant De Andre took his seat, the court asked Rizal whether he had anything to say. Rizal then read the supplement to his defense which he wrote his prison cells. In his supplementary defense, he further provided his innocence by 12 points. First, he could be not guilty or of rebellion, for he advised Dr. Pio Valenzuela in Dapitan not to rise in revolution. Second, he did not correspond with the radical revolutionary elements. Third, the revolutionaries used his name without his knowledge. If he were guilty, he could have escaped in Singapore. Fourth, if he had a hand in the revolution, he could have escaped in a Moro Vinta and would not have built a home, a hospital, and bought lands in the Dapitan. Fifth, if he were the chief of the revolution, why was he not consulted by revolutionists? It was true, he wrote the bylaws of the La Liga Filipina, but this is only a civic association, not a revolutionary society. 7. The La Liga Filipina did not live long, for after the first meeting, he was banished to the Dapitan and died out. 8. If the La Liga was recognized 9 months later, he did not know about it. 9. The La Liga did not serve the purpose of the revolutionists, otherwise they would not have supplanted it with the Katipunan. 10. If it were true that there were some bitter comments in Rizal's letters, it was because they were written in 1890 when his family was being persecuted, being deprived of houses, warehouses, lands, etc. And his brother and all his brothers-in-law were deported. 11. His life in the Dapitan had been exemplary as the political, military, commanders, and missionaries priests could attend. 12. It was not true that the revolution was inspired by his one speech at the house of Doroteo Onghonco, as alleged by witness whom he would like to comfort. His friends knew he was opposition to armed rebellions. Why did the Katipunan send an emissary to the Dapitan who was known to him? Because those who knew him were aware that he would never sanction any violent